Case. Well, my friend is now seeking to draw me into precisely the kind of comment that I am prohibited from making about individual investigations. Nevertheless, it strikes me that this is something that would merit an appeal to the IPCC. I may be wrong about that, and I will make sure that we follow up with this debate with formal advice to my honourable friend, which I will send him, about whether that does remain an option for Mr. Puddick. I should also say that my honourable friend referred to the involvement, I think he said, of counter-terrorist officers in this case, and I know that the media reported that there was an involvement of counter-terrorism officers. I can in fact confirm that the investigation was run by the Force's Major Investigation Team, which, while set up primarily to deal with major crime, occasionally deals with cases outside of this remit to relieve pressure on other departments within the Force. The Major Investigation Team sits within the Serious Crime and Counter Terrorism Directorate, which may have been the source of some confusion around this case and the suggestion that it was counter-terrorist officers who were involved in the investigation. I know that my honourable friend will agree with me that when the police receive an allegation of a crime or a potential crime, they should consider that properly, and indeed they are required to record it within the rules set out. And the offence of harassment is an offence that can cause great distress to the victim, and the police are committed to responding in a timely manner when they receive such reports. That is, my comments in that respect are not to be taken as an endorsement of the police action in this specific case, but I think that we would all agree with the general principle that it is proper for the police to respond to and investigate such claims. And so far as the role of the internet is concerned, the internet, of course, has hugely enriched our lives, and every member of this House is fully aware of its potency, but it can also be a useful tool for those who seek to abuse and intimidate their victims. And it is a source of particular concern to the government that a new opportunity for crime has been created through cyber bullying and stalking and the harassment of victims. And that abuse can continue for long periods of time with no refuge for the person on the receiving end of the harassment. And it can, of course, involve a much bigger audience, with more people becoming accessories to the harassment by forwarding on offensive messages and images, and it can be very difficult to identify the perpetrator. And so for all of those reasons, the government is very concerned about the growth of this particular form of criminality, and we are seeking to deal with it. I mean, let me be clear that we have no plans to block legal content or websites, and our position is that published material should aim to strike a balance between freedom of expression and protection of the public, and should be proportionate to the potential harm that might caused. In other words, it is important that the action we take, and indeed the action of those who enforce the law, is proportionate, which is precisely the words that my honourable friend used. And we are making progress in this area. There will, in fact, next week be a ministerial seminar on personal harm on the internet, which is focusing on the two key themes of cyber stalking and hate crime. And it's important that we continue to make progress in this area. Nevertheless, I strongly agree with my honourable friend in the principle that he sets out of equality before the law. It is very important that we have a police force in this country that is impartial, that acts without fear or favour, and he is right to restate that principle. And I also agree with him, and he is correct in saying that I am big on accountability, and so is the government. And we do seek to ensure that police forces are both accountable, of course, to the law for their actions, and they are in this case. And I mentioned the recourse of the IPCC. Should Mr. Puddick believe that the police behaved unlawfully in this case, of course, he would also have recourse to legal action. Again, I make no comment on whether that is the case or not, but the police themselves are not above the law. The police should also be accountable for their actions. We do seek to strengthen the democratic oversight of policing. That does not extend to an interference in operational independence, because that principle must remain. But we are going to give directly elected police and crime commissioners an important role in the oversight of police complaints, not to receive complaints directly, because that will still be a matter for the IPCC, but to ensure that forces are generally dealing with complaints properly. I should, however, say that I regret that is not going to be applicable in relation to the City of London Police, which is the one force where we will not be introducing directly elected police and crime commissioners, although I am sure the force themselves and the authority that hold the force to account will be watching carefully in the developments that are taking place in relation to our legislation. Finally, can I just say that on the cost of the investigation, my honourable friend cited the cost of £1 million. I'm not sure whether he thought that was the cost of the police investigation and the Crown Prosecution Service investigation. I'm assured that the City of London Police state that the costs of £1.5 million that were ascribed to this investigation were very wide of the mark, but I'm not able to respond on the specific cost that he suggests for the combined operation of the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, and I'm happy to ask that that information is provided to my honourable friend by both the City of London Police and the CPS. It is important for me to say that the CPS, of course, would have had to have agreed to the charges that were brought before the courts, and would have taken the view that a prosecution was in the public interest in doing so. So the actions that were taken were not just a matter for the police concern, they would also have been a matter for the Crown Prosecution Service. Without trespassing further into the detail of the case, I do want to say that I fully understand my honourable friend's concern about this matter, and indeed respect the fact that he has brought it to the attention of the House. I hope he will understand that I cannot interfere, but I hope I've also provided some useful information, and of course I'll give way.
I'm grateful for his for the Minister's response. He'll be aware, because I've raised it with him before, and he will share the fact that within our justice system what is needed, amongst other things, is information. And indeed, the words of the Victims Commissioner, relentless information is a real driver for change and accountability. And one of these areas is indeed in terms of reporting on cases from magistrates' courts, which often can go unnoticed. And whilst I've raised one, indeed two examples, it's the case in this area as in other areas where the benefits of more information coming through will, I believe, help raise the stakes for accountability and ensure that indeed ministers and others are aware, amongst others, about whether there is a prevalence of these type of cases and actions which could lead to some criticism, indeed some operational changes. So I would ask ministers to have an eye for that, as well as just just raising one other matter which concerns internet crime, which is subject to the debate, of just welcoming the ministerial involvement in the seminars looking at hate crime and how that's a real concern. I have a particular area of anti-Semitism, how there's a prevalence in the internet, and I know that ministers are taking on previous work from the previous government in that area as well.
Well, first of all, I strongly agree with my honourable friend about the importance of transparency, and it is the case that the criminal justice system is relatively opaque, and this week the government announced further moves in relation to extending transparency, and one of the areas that we wish to do so is in relation to the criminal justice system. And I am currently working on such proposals, because I believe that justice must be seen to be done. And I hope that he will take a continuing interest in that and encourage the efforts that we are taking. I'm grateful for his support for the action that we're taking in relation to hate crime, and I know that he understands the importance of dealing with this. And that is what I would like to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, in respect of this case and the issues which my honourable friend raises, which it is very important that we and the law strike the appropriate balance here. You know, free speech is an important freedom that must be protected to the greatest extent possible. But free speech cannot be permitted if there is harm done to others. And the law exists in order sometimes to curtail the operation of free speech where such harm may be done. That is why we have a harassment law. It is right that our law enforcement agencies do focus on areas where people may be bullied, where they may be harassed, where they may be subject to intimidation and threats, and that includes through the new medium of the internet. It is appropriate that our law enforcement agencies take action according to the laws that have been set out by Parliament. It equally behoves those agencies to behave in a proper and proportionate manner.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many of their opinions say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. Order, order.